Hey everyone, it's Blake, and welcome into episode number 22 of our WWE 2021 Save in TEW 2020. It is the Great American Bash, our SmackDown branded pay-per-view here for the month of July. And as you can see, we've got 39,000 people in attendance at this show. So a lot of people interested, and hopefully they will get their money's worth based on some of the matches and angles we have in store for this particular show. And I would think that the perhaps closing portion of the show, they may get their money's worth out of that. So there's your tease to begin with. But we do start here. We got a lot to get to, so let's just jump in. We start with the pre-show match. Naomi gets a win over Medium, 32 rating. Not really concerned about that. We just want to get Naomi a win. She hasn't had a lot of momentum thus far. That'll change soon. But we've kind of, like others I mentioned, have had her in a holding pattern. So she gets a win here. That's really all this was for. And Sami Zayn also gets a win in pre-show action. The victory over Cedric Alexander, 59. Actually, not a bad match. But Sami, same situation. He hasn't really had a dedicated storyline or program to be in yet to this point outside of the King of the Ring. But that will also change for him moving forward. So those are just a couple pre-show matches we want to get in to get Naomi and Sami Zayn on the card. But let's jump into the main card, which will start off with our Undisputed Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and the Viking Raiders. And it gets a 58, not bad. We knew what we were getting here. This is, I know, a lot of you probably predicted the Usos retain the titles. 12-19 with Jay getting the pin on Ivar. It's their first defense, of course, of the Undisputed Tag Team Championship since winning them at King of the Ring. I'm not surprised by the rating because the Viking Raiders aren't that over, but we needed a challenger to get to the point we're going to get to. So that's kind of what this was for. We get the usual tag team bonuses here with these guys, and we know Jimmy and Jay, great chemistry. So that bumps up the rating a bit, so it's probably better than it could have been. But still, we'll take it. It's fine. This is, one of those where it's like a plot point to get to the next one, more so than just being the end-all, be-all for what we're going to do here with the Usos. So the Usos retain the Undisputed Tag Team Championships against the Viking Raiders, but they will have to be wrestling again pretty quickly based on our next segment. And that is Stone Cold Steve Austin backstage. The Usos are coming backstage, celebrating. However, they see Steve Austin, who starts smiling at them, and he congratulates them and then tells them that's a good thing that they return because on Raw, which gets the next tag team title shot, as you know, we've been alternating these between Raw and SmackDown. Raw is next in line, and so Austin's going to go ahead and give the fans what they want, and that is because tomorrow night on Raw, the Usos are going to turn right around and defend the championships against the Street Profits. So a very quick turnaround for the Usos. So Raw not wasting any time when it comes to getting their tag team title shot. So Austin has already got it set. It's going to be the Usos against the Street Profits on Raw. Clearly, Jimmy J not very happy. I know Jimmy struggled here because, they were talking about the script thing. So I didn't script Austin. I scripted the Usos. The reason being, I had a feeling this was going to turn out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it still works okay when you have, one person scripted. And I think more often than not, it doesn't work out great. But I've seen it before where it's been fine. But in this scenario, Austin was unhappy because we tried to script him, so I didn't want to make Stone Cold unhappy. So we left him unscripted. We scripted the other two because I have a feeling Jimmy and Jay probably wouldn't have done well without a script. So that's why we get a knock here on the rating, but it is what it is. I'm not really that concerned about it. Anyways, this gets us to the destination, which is going to be the Usos having to, now turn right around on our next episode, and they're going to defend the tag team titles against the Street Profits. So that is the setup there. Which leads us into, oh dear God, listen, we knew this was going to be just a complete and utter disaster of a match, knowing that these two already did not have chemistry. We saw that in the first match, but we had to do this again because we had already set it up. Basically, this was a storyline. I didn't really want to pivot away from it because I just wanted to, let's get it out of the way and move on to the next thing we have in mind. However, it appears we also have an injury here. Baron Corbin sustaining a strained wrist, so I can't imagine that's going to keep him out very long. But nonetheless, a 47 on a pay-per-view is not what we want, and I know there's probably a lot of people that would have just rebooked it and said, all right, we can't go with this. We got to go with something else when we found out they didn't have chemistry, but I just was going to, let's just let it be. Let's get it over with. Let's get it done because there are bigger things in store, probably for both men. So I just wanted to get this out, and I think some of our other matches and such are going to be able to kind of counteract this really terrible score. But if not, we can blame me, right, for actually booking this match on a pay-per-view knowing that the rating was not going to be great and that they didn't have any chemistry. So I'm just glad to get through this storyline with these two. At first, it was just kind of something I thought maybe we could work a little bit with, but it hasn't really gone great. But there will be better things in store, probably more particularly for Damian Priest here moving forward. So let's get out of this. 47, terrible, but it's fine. Damian Priest gets the win. It only goes 10 minutes, so we didn't invest a ton of time in this. And yeah, Jamie Noble lets me know Baron Corbin's train wrist. Got it. And then we get, man, this is disappointing here too. Maybe this pay-per-view isn't going to go the direction I thought it was going to. Mick Foley struggling, going off script. We have not gotten that often at all. So maybe this pay-per-view is actually not going to turn out as well as we thought. But a 69, a nice rating here, as Mick Foley announces that he is going to add a stipulation to the match we're going to have between Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston, as it'll now be a SmackDown Money in the Bank qualifying match. So we're going to have a Raw. I've said this before. If you're just watching this one maybe for the first time, we're going to have a Raw Money in the Bank match at SummerSlam. We're also going to have a SmackDown Money in the Bank match at SummerSlam. You'll see why once we get to it, the reasoning why we're doing it that way. But I wanted to get back, which they used to do that, I think, at one point. But we wanted to do two separate brands, two separate Money in the Bank for reasons that, again, will make sense down the line. But yeah, this is disappointing because a Mick Foley by himself segment should probably get better than a 69, but struggles going off strip, just a very rare note we get when it comes to Foley promos. So this pay-per-view maybe is not going to be what I thought it was going to be. I don't think this next match is probably going to do any better from a rating standpoint. A 58, so not great, but it is Apollo Crews retaining the Intercontinental Championship in 14 minutes against Shinsuke Nakamura. Commander Aziz interferes, so that's kind of the noteworthy thing coming out of this. Defense number 3 for Apollo, and this starts our storyline that we really probably had started previously. We just didn't put it into the actual game. Best IC champion, he's been talking about this all the time. So, I mean, again, we keep going back to this, but Nakamura is limited from, being penalized for some of the stuff. Inconsistency, low morale, slow and steady, declining physical ability, all this other stuff. So we kind of know what we're getting now, unfortunately, with Shinsuke. There's not a lot we can do with that from a rating standpoint. So Crews gets the win, and as you'll see, again, pretty quickly, we have other plans in place for Crews here moving forward. So disappointing rating. I know what you're thinking. You're like, man, this pay-per-view could be a complete bomb from a standpoint of just could be a complete disappointment when we look at it from a rating standpoint. But we'll see. We'll see if things pick up. I mean, I didn't have... I mean, look, I guess based on our last SmackDown, right? It didn't do a great rating, and a lot of the same people are on this card. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe SmackDown's missing something, but I think you'll see soon enough that we're going to be getting some talent back in the mix on SmackDown that will help things out there. But 58, Crews still the champ. And then we get a decent segment. I mean, better than some of the others. 66. Mustafa Ali comes out. He says he's shaking his hand. Actually, I don't think he's shaking his own hand. I meant to put head there. He wants a microphone. He talks about on SmackDown. He's tired of not getting opportunities. He's going to make his own opportunity. And then the fans start buzzing. Ali doesn't know why. Out of nowhere, Cesaro from Raw slides into the ring and basically just starts going at Ali. The two exchange blows. Cesaro gets the better of it. Ali slides out and retreats. So this is kind of what we've been waiting on with really both of these two. If you remember back at King of the Ring, had the quarterfinal match. It was Cesaro winning. Ali attacked him afterwards, sort of a brutal attack, and that could be one of the reasonings why Cesaro lost his semifinal match, to possibly get to the King of the Ring final. So this is kind of a long storyline that's played out, and of course we've had to do it in not a lot really with it detail because they're on different brands. So this was kind of the opportunity, I thought, to bring back Cesaro to this situation, and one of those things where you've got Cesaro coming here to a SmackDown pay-per-view, even though he's a Raw wrestler, and attacking Mustafa Ali. So I'm sure, as you can guess, that's probably going to lead to something here in the future. But we wanted to get this on here, and that was kind of the setup when we did what we did with Ali on SmackDown. So Cesaro and Ali, it's heated back up between these two after the King of the Ring situation there. Well, another one here, 68. I mean, this I would have expected much higher for Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston. Oh man, we are just I don't know. Maybe SmackDown is just starting to really sort of sputter a bit. But 68, it is Seth Rollins getting the win over Kofi Kingston. It only goes 10 minutes, and the reason why is we had to back off the stamina a little bit, I think, because we've gotten dirt sheet ratings and stuff before on Kofi matches that have said stamina, and they've only gone maybe like 12 minutes or so. We don't get that here. But for some reason, like it hasn't worked out well. And then we also have Rollins off his game, so this is probably better if Rollins isn't off his game. But nonetheless, like this is a disappointment too. Like man, I was really hyping this thing up earlier, wasn't I? And now I'm like, boy, all these ratings have not been great. But I mean, as you'll see in a second, like this is pretty much a show built around two or three different things, and we really haven't gotten to those yet. So maybe there'll be enough to overcome everything, but I don't know if it's actually going to be at this point. A disappointing match of the 68 between these two in particular. But still, we have Rollins qualify for the SmackDown Money in the Bank, and that's kind of the big story here with this. So, yeah, would have liked it to be 70 or higher. We haven't seen any of those yet. I would have preferred that. Finally, an 84. This is what we needed to really bring things up here. And this is something. I'm recording this literally probably a couple hours after WWE just released Bray Wyatt. In reality. So I just am shaking my head because we've got big plans for Bray Wyatt in this thing, and they've released him. So Drew McIntyre calls out Bray Wyatt. He said he was going to do that. Wyatt's music hits, comes out, slowly makes his way to the ring, and then when he gets in the ring, Bray Wyatt simply puts his hands to his side and stands completely still as McIntyre looks at him. That doesn't stop Drew McIntyre from going at Wyatt, just throwing punches, kicks all over the place. But the big thing is, Bray Wyatt is not fighting back at all. He's not doing anything. He's just taking all the punishment, all the punches, everything. And McIntyre continues it until we see Bray Wyatt bleeding from the mouth. And then McIntyre simply stands over Bray Wyatt. Wyatt starts laughing. The lights go out. When they come back on, Bray Wyatt is gone. So that, like I said, I have big plans for Bray Wyatt. Like, I'm not even going to, like, there's no reason to even hold that back. Like, there are some pretty big plans in place for what we're going to do with him. But this is something where I'm glad we get a good rating here. And I know we were still kind of hinting at this heel turn because as of right now, we know, like, there's an interesting dynamic here based on the segments we've had with him thus far since he's came back, which hasn't been that long ago. But I thought this was something that a great point for where we're going to go with him and where we've kind of already started. But I'm glad this worked out well because we needed something on this pay-per-view to really hit. I don't think this is going to be the only thing that does, but this segment gets about as good of a rating as I could have asked for. So this is actually a pretty big success and obviously adds a lot of intrigue as to what is going on with Bray Wyatt and what is this all about as he just continues his sort of mysterious nature here. And we'll see what's next. But clearly a very different sort of angle. And as I said on SmackDown, we didn't want to have the match yet, which is why we didn't make this an official match. Even though Drew McIntyre basically told Bray Wyatt to meet him in the ring, we didn't want to make it an official match yet. But again, that will make sense as to why in the future. So great segment. The best of the show thus far. Hopefully there are more to come to help in that category. And then ahead of our SmackDown Women's title match, Charlotte Flair gets to the ring, and she goes through the crowd and grabs a seat in the front row. And as we see, Pat McAfee adds a little commentary that Charlotte has her eyes on Bianca and Asuka, who will fight it out for the SmackDown Women's title. So 67 here. You've got these two in the ring ready to go. Charlotte makes her way down. Of course, I'm sure the obvious thinking is, oh, what's going to happen here with Charlotte? Well, let's see what happens with the actual match first. And a 69, so it's okay. I can't say, great, but we'll take it, right? It's better than, it did better than Rollins and Kingston, and I probably wouldn't have expected that. So 69 overall, it is Bianca Belair retaining the championship in 15 minutes. She makes her second defense of the title. We also get some really good notes here. Of course, Bianca's being the flavor of the month. That has helped her several times thus far. And having a strong connection with the young female demographic. Really liked her winning. So we've got a lot going for Bianca Belair right now. And of course, we have a lot more as well. But I think it's interesting to note here, like Asuka in-ring performance of 74. Bianca had a 62. Asuka is still like a star. And we're going to get to that more, I think, here in the future. But right now, this was kind of something we needed to have to set up something else, and that is where Charlotte comes into play. And great rating here, so this is another positive. We really needed this. 76, fantastic. So Bianca getting to her feet after the match, and it is Charlotte hopping over the barricade and slowly walking to the timekeeper. She then grabs the SmackDown Women's title and starts to walk around the ring as Bianca gets to her feet. Charlotte teases walking up the steps to hand the belt to Bianca, but then Charlotte simply hops back over the barricade and exits through the crowd with the title. So Bianca Belair is your SmackDown Women's Champion, but Charlotte has decided to come out and take the belt away from her and then just leave. So that obviously leaves Bianca confused and not really sure what's going to be next there, as her title has been stolen from Charlotte Flair. So this is a great rating here. This is another positive because, as we know, Charlotte, momentum-wise, form, all that has been just awful thus far, and she's gotten penalized that for in all her matches. But we needed a really strong segment rating here to help not just this feud, but also help this pay-per-view. So good stuff here. We'll take it. Very happy about how this played out in particular. Now, that will lead us into our main event, which is going to be Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Jeff Hardy. And 73, probably about as good as I could have expected, given Jeff Hardy. We've seen the notes from him. He's kind of the same like Shinsuke. He just hasn't had a lot of momentum. He's gotten, knocked a little bit for some of the, I think, abilities and those kind of things. But it is Roman Reigns defending the championship successfully, defeating Jeff Hardy, 15 minutes using the spear. But 13th title defense for Roman Reigns, Universal Championship. Of course, Reigns is in amazing form, so that always helps. It gets 73 overall, but I'm sure, as you probably knew when we booked this match, and based on the setup we had in the final segment of SmackDown, this was going to be about much more than just a main event match with Roman Reigns and Jeff Hardy. There's going to be a lot more to this at Great American Bash, and that is what's going to lead us into our final 3 segments. Yes, 3 different segments that we're about to get to here. And let's get to the first one. A 90, we really needed that. Just unbelievable work here from Roman as usual. Roman Reigns rolls to the outside after his match, grabs a chair. Heyman gets a mic for him. Reigns back inside. He sits in the chair, and Reigns slowly says that he tried to warn Mick Foley, and that if Mick did not deliver him, this mysterious him again we refer to, that there would be consequences. The time has come for Mick Foley to face the consequences, so he wants Foley to get his ass out there to the ring. Roman throws down the mic, and he stares intently at the back, waiting for Mick Foley. Will Mick Foley answer Roman Reigns' call here? Let's find out. It's not Mick Foley, and instead, it is Vince McMahon, where another great rating here. Vince walks out, thunderous roar from the crowd. Reigns stands up out of his chair. Vince with his usual, strut to the ring. Roman, I know exactly who and what you want, but quite frankly, Vince has had it with Roman. He hasn't earned him. And so McMahon says, what the hell is Roman going to do about it, huh? He's not going to hold Vince's show hostage any longer and wants Roman to get his ass out of his ring. Vince removes the jacket, losing his mind. We remember this is where, like, one of the long-term things, we remember from the very beginning, we had this sort of setup and this tease with Vince and Roman on that. Whenever Vince named the SmackDown general manager, which was Mick Foley, of course, we had a little bit of tease leading up to that with these two. And so Reigns cracks a slight grin as Paul Heyman stands in front of him, trying to sort of be the middleman between these two. And then Reigns nose to nose with Vince. Heyman wants Reigns to leave the ring, and it appears Reigns going to follow those orders. Reigns shakes his head, walks away, grabs the chair he was seated in, and then Reigns walks to the opposite corner, quickly turns around, and nails Vince McMahon in the midsection with the chair. Then Reigns takes the chair, hits Vince in the back with it, and then a third chair shot from Roman to Vince as Paul Heyman is losing his mind, wondering what is Roman Reigns doing. Mick Foley comes down the ramp. Reigns and Heyman get out of the ring, and they exit in the opposite direction through the crowd as Vince McMahon is laid out in the ring as Mick Foley comes to check on him. So that is the big angle to end the Great American Bash. It is Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, completely destroying the chairman of WWE, Vince McMahon. An 83, would have liked that also to probably hit that 85 plus range, but on this show, we need anything we can get, so we'll take the 83. Of course, Roman Reigns looked good. This continues the storyline here that we've been having going on, and I've said this to some of you in the comments, but I know this him thing. We're wanting this to, this is a part of a longer kind of plan here, and it will pay off eventually soon enough, but this just adds another layer to what we have going on, and this kind of leaves you with what's next, right? Like after Roman just completely destroyed the chairman of the board here, what is going to be the consequences perhaps for Roman Reigns, whereas he's been the one talking about the consequences, and he delivered those to Vince McMahon at the end of Great American Bash. So let's see what we get from a rating standpoint. We get a 76, so about even. We get no popularity changes. That's okay. At least we didn't lose any, so I'm fine with that. Because, again, this was probably not a strong show from top to bottom overall, but we did have some good stuff. Obviously, the last two, I think, were the best points with the Bianca Charlotte stuff, and then the Reigns, everything with Reigns, of course, as usual. We have just a really strong finish here, as you see. That's what we want, a strong finish to the show. The top part of the show was not great, but that's okay. Our big angle, that's what sort of saved us here on this show with Reigns and Vince. And so that is the Great American Bash, and now we will turn our focus on the SmackDown side, and we're already turned our focus there on the Raw side to SummerSlam, which you guys know, if you've watched this series thus far, I've been pretty much pointing out SummerSlam as sort of the big show that I'm really thrilled to get to. And not that I wasn't thrilled about Great American Bash, because I think our ending angle here was exactly what we needed it to be to get to where we want to go, but I think SummerSlam could be fantastic, and I hope it's going to be much better than a 76. I would hope that's going to be like in the 80 range we had with King of the Ring. So I think that's what we're looking for there. So it should be interesting to see what we have there. But let's see what we need to do. We're going to make a speech first. Who should we give some encouragement to? I think, actually, we're going to give some encouragement first to Asuka for putting on a good performance. We're going to praise her. She had we pointed that out. I thought she did really well. Who else? I mean, I hate to keep going to Roman, but we got to give Roman something. Like, he's just an unbelievable talent. So we got to tell Roman that he's awesome, still as usual. But then I guess the only other we could probably do, we're going to give Rollins a little bit of praise as well, because I think that, for him, he's done a pretty good job, and even though that match with Kingston wasn't great, we're going to give Seth Rollins a little bit of, nice little praise here too. So we're going to give all these speeches. Asuka's pleased. Roman very happy. He should be. He's the GOAT. I mean, he's the best. Come on. And Rollins also pleased. So that's where we're at with that. Now let's see what we need to get to. Okay, so here are some things we need to discuss before we wrap up this video. Of course, Baron Corbin's injury. I said I didn't think he was going to be out long with a strain, and only a few days deal, so we still got Baron Corbin in the mix, and luckily we are not going to hopefully get to see any more Baron Corbin Damian Priest matches. They're terrible together, and we're done with that. So just gonna there's a storyline spoiler. We're done with that feud. It's over. Eric Bischoff retired. We said that. I kind of teased that a bit. I was actually planning on hiring Bischoff as one of the GM candidates, but he said he wanted to retire, and Bischoff has officially retired. So Easy is out of the wrestling business. Great American Bash, great overall. Like we said, it didn't hurt us, didn't really help us popularity-wise, but it was okay. We've got some mail to get to. Bear Bronson and Bear Beefcake. So this is Bear Country from AEW. We had them on our short list as possibilities. We're not really concerned with that right now, though. Ryan Katz, developmental contract. We'll keep that and look at that. Riddick Moss is back. So Riddick Moss was injured for a bit. We just don't. We'll figure out what we need to do with him. We need more workers. Really, we need to beef up the depth on both brands. To be honest with you, but we'll see where we put Riddick Moss. Great American Bash importance. What's this? Great American Bash had okay. So even though it wasn't a perfect show, we now have moved Great American Bash up from just an average event to an above average event. So that's good to know. I would like to think that's all due to Roman Reigns. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Roman is just doing everything right now. So perhaps Roman destroying Vince McMahon, I guess they could make the case why it has gone up to an above average. So that's good to know. Baron Corbin's injury we discussed, not really anything worth worrying about. So that is Great American Bash, and what's an interesting dynamic now as we look ahead to our events. We just came off Great American Bash, as we see. A pretty, now it's up to above average, so that's good to know. And now we will work our way towards SummerSlam, which is going to be week 4 in August. I'm telling you now, I think SummerSlam, barring any injuries or anything like that, is hopefully going to be the best show we've done thus far on this save. Probably not a big surprise, given King of the Ring was pretty good. We had an 82 on King of the Ring. That was a really good show. But I think SummerSlam hopefully will be able to eclipse that, given everything that we have planned with that. So that should be a lot of fun, and hopefully you had a lot of fun with the Great American Bash. Like I said, I know it wasn't probably the best show in terms of what we're going to have on this series, but it was still one where, again, big things happen, and that's what we have to use to move forward. So, as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff to continue to help this series reach more people. The feedback, always great from you guys, so I always appreciate it. And let me know what you thought of Great American Bash, what you thought of the big angle there to close the show, what your expectations are moving forward, as now we have both Raw and SmackDown on the road to SummerSlam, and the card will start to take shape pretty quickly based on some of the things we have in the works. So SummerSlam is going to be great. I'm really, I can't say it enough. I'm really looking forward to SummerSlam. But we got a lot to get to before we get there. We got, 8 shows to get to, TV-wise before we get to SummerSlam. But again, thanks for watching as always. And on the next episode, it will be the first week of August as we'll jump into WWE Raw.